afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Veil, a show that provides insight into the world of people, weddings, and events. And oh my God, do we have a good show for you today? Because I know if you're in South Florida, we're looking at summer, June, July, August. Like, oh my God, what are we about to do? Not only is this the last episode of our season and we'll be back in August, but so is the season for South Florida. And our guest today is all about the art of the hustle. But before I bring her on, let me bring on my co-host, Marcy Gutenberg, with an affair to remember by Marcy. Hi, Marcy.
Hello, Keith.
Oh, yeah, right? I'm ready.
And speaking of hot, I mean, the person that we have on today that you're going to describe here, talk about hot. This woman is hot.
Boom. And we both saw her recently, and she just tore up that stage. I mean, she just tore it up.
It's going to probably be one of the most memorable intros that I have ever seen, ever.
Well, let's bring her on. Terrica, how are you?
Hey, Terrica.
Hi. Oh my
gosh. It's
so
good to have you on the show. Oh my God. So, and we're not kidding. Marcy and I both saw you at the Wedding Pro experience. And I just remember the presence that you had walking up on stage. And you're like, okay, first of all, everybody put down your damn phones. You didn't say that, but that's the presence that you had. Was like, okay, everybody put down your damn phones, and you're gonna look at me, and you're gonna listen to me, because I'm the only thing that's important at the moment. And I thought, oh God, we gotta have her on the show.
Well, thank you so much. And Marcy, thank you so much for your sweet compliment. Right as you said that, I was like, oh my God, I did not put enough makeup on, because the camera is going to come to me and they're going to be like, oh, Marcy, baby, what's your definition of hot? Because that ain't it right there. I should have had the Crayola people do a little bit more to my face. But thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
So talk a little bit about yourself and talk a little bit about what you do, and then we can go from there. So I'm all ears. So are they.
Yeah. So I own a wedding planning and design company in coastal Georgia called Cocktails and Details. It specializes in the modern Southern wedding. And a majority of my clients are destination clients. So I've really had to perfect the ability to reach out, to connect, to be able to sell, to be able to really transform and explain so many things virtually with my clients. When 2020 came, a lot of people had to relearn how to do their businesses, but this was my norm, you know what I mean? And, sometimes I wouldn't even see a client before the rehearsal. And, that I would get shocked when they would call and they would say, hey, we're flying in, would love to see you. And I'm like, damn it, I got to put on pants. You know what I mean? It's like Beyonce from the waist up, and it's a mess from the waist down when you're on camera.
That's totally what I'm doing right now.
Listen, baby, it's the life. It is the life.
I totally went red on that.
So I would say maybe about 7 years ago, I transitioned into speaking. And then that also helped me to develop a lot of educational products for wedding pros and doing coaching as well. I am all about the hustle. My nickname in the industry is the Mother Hustler. Yep. So yep, she's a bad mother hustler. Shut your mouth. So I am all about wedding pros understanding their worth and getting paid their worth and trying to, for lack of a better term, make $1 out of 15 cents. There are so many different ways that we can make money without having to work harder and really, really transforming our brand. So that's what I'm all about. I'm the industry's biggest hype girl and cheerleader. I love all of us and what we do. And yep. I'm here.
All right. So I'm gonna embarrass myself a little bit. Is it Terrica or Terrica?
Terrica.
Oh God, of course. I was like, and it's one of those things that you sit in your head and you're like, wait a minute. I know this. I knew I got it wrong. Damn it. Anyway, but I'm one of those people that as soon as I'm like, okay, wait, is there a question? Ask. And I don't think enough people do that, right? I don't think enough people do that and go, okay, you know what? How do I, first of all, pronounce the name, but how do I ask about the hustle, because I think many of us have egos, right? Where
Yeah.
we've been in business, 7 years, 10 years, 20 years.
Mhm.
And the idea of having to hustle kind of goes, wait, how does that affect my ego? And my thought is, it doesn't matter. Whatever supports your business, you go do, right?
All
It does.
day.
I mean, I remember when I first started this business, I was waiting tables on the side.
Mhm.
I was like putting up Christmas lights. I mean, I didn't care what it was, and I still don't.
At
Like,
all. Listen,
right?
my mortgage company does not ask me where the money comes from every month at all. In
Exactly.
the memo section, I am not putting, oh, wow, did an amazing South Asian wedding this month. They don't care about that. They don't care about that at all.
They really
So
don't.
I completely agree with you, and I think that it's something that we have to break ourselves out of. And I want to say some of us that have been in the industry a little bit longer. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and I know people are shocked. They're like, Jesus, the rumors are true. It don't crack. No, baby, it does
No,
not.
you know not. I've
It
seen
does
you in
not crack.
person, and I'm telling you, there are no filters on her camera at this point in time. I am telling you right now, she looks just
Thank
as
you.
amazing as she does in person. Actually,
Thank you.
I will say you
Thank
look
you.
better in person, because then you get
Oh, well, thank you.
you get the vibe off of you as
you get
well. But
all
anyway,
of it.
sorry,
Yes, you get
I'm
all.
just
And then now you see why I'm wanted in 7 states and need the national
right.
guard in about 15. So yeah, it becomes very clear. But I feel like some of us that have been in the industry a little bit longer, we are so used to doing things a certain way. So
Mhm.
anything that deviates from that, whether it's social media, whether it's having to network differently, whether it's having to interact with clients differently, or even having to come up with a different type of service, it strikes us a little bit. And it's like, well, how come you don't want me the way that I am? And that's not it at all. It's we want you. We just want to experience you a little bit differently. So that's how I always try to encourage wedding pros to think about. When you think about your hustle, I don't want to be doing this all the time. There are
Right.
52 weekends in a year. I don't want to work all of them at all. So if there is a way that I can develop something where it's semi-passive, or I can farm things out, or I can subcontract things out, or I can give them to my team, I'm definitely going to do that, because my job, Keith, as the CEO of my business, the CEO of my life, is to fire myself from every role that I do not want to be in. That is how you scale. That's how you scale right there. So
I
Love that.
love how you just said that.
let it
ahead.
go.
That's
Let it go.
perfect.
I'm like, oh, baby, you don't want to do social media? That's fine. I'm fired. Hire somebody else. Please get somebody else. If I got to look at another hashtag, let me tell you, it's
Oh
done.
my God.
It's done.
Ugh.
So would you say that you define the hustle when you
Mhm.
use the word hustle? Are you defining it by the fact that it's all about whatever it takes to get to that end goal?
Mm.
Mhm. It's so many
Mm.
things. It's whatever it takes to get to that end goal. It's showing up and saying, you know what, I'm not going to be defeated by yesterday. I am not going to be defeated by hearing no. For me, like I tell a lot of my students, and I tell a lot of my coaching clients, I want you to get as many no's as you possibly can, because no just means next. No means that you're perfecting everything. So that's part of the hustle too. Showing up every day, working hard, getting to that next goal, having several streams of income within your business. We're stuck in our particular industry thinking we can only do weddings. That is the furthest thing from the truth. So when you get your hustle on, when I talk to people and I'm sitting here thinking like, wow, that sounds amazing. I've thought about 5 different ways you can make some additional money here. That is being able to be a hustler too. And it's not even like the old school 1940s definition of being a hustler where you're scamming people out of their money. Preferably you are not doing that, right? Let's not use that definition. Let's use the one that Marcy and I are talking
Right.
about.
I love it. I mean, I think the whole idea is that you give us the excuse to be the hustler, right? I mean, I feel like we've all protected ourselves a little too much on that ego side to say, okay, wait, well, I don't do that. I do weddings. It's like, well, no, you do everything. If you need to sell a t-shirt that says I do weddings, then that's what you do. You sell a t-shirt that says I do weddings. If that brings in extra revenue and extra income, do it. Be okay with it and move forward. But how do you get people there? Like, you're on stage and you do have this presence about you, but how do you help people like in that kind of setting to get them out of that mode of thinking? Like, what is the process that somebody needs to go through in order to get to a point where they go, okay, you know what? I really do need to learn the art of the hustle, and these are the steps that get me there.
Especially for those who are like trying to get them out of their shell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for
or
sure.
out of their mind.
I think what has made me such a successful speaker and a successful coach is that I'm relatable and I relate to people. Like, I will get up there and I will tell you about the times I was almost fired, the times that I fired clients, the times I didn't feel like getting up, the times I felt like, you know what, this is going to be the wedding that I go to prison for. This is the one that's putting me in the orange jumpsuit. It is so many people out there that are like, oh no, I did so-and-so's wedding and look at me, I'm great. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you the stories that make you feel like, oh, so it's not just me. It's, you know what I mean? So when I connect with you on that level and I say, all right, so no, it's not just you. Let's find out how to get out of that. Let's find out how we can serve some of these other people. You know, and I tell the stories about how the wrong client always seems to find me. And I'm like, baby, what did you put into Google that made you end up here? That's what I need to know, what you typed specifically. And then how did you get here? And you looked at me and you were like, that's the one. That, yes, I am having a full-on burlap, galvanized tin, baby's breath wedding with pigs and mason jars. And I see this big, tall Black woman that looks like a drag queen. And I'm like, I gotta have her. She's the one. So I realized that there is still something that I'm connecting with people. And no, I may not be able to serve you in a specific way, but I may be able to help you somewhere else. And that's really the true art of the hustle, is knowing that people just don't want you. They also want your interpretation. They want your translation on things. And how can you give that to so many more people that helps you diversify your income too?
What do you think is like the number one mistake that most entrepreneurs make when it comes to this? You know, I mean, I know what my own issues are mentally mostly, but you know, because you see a lot of people, you talk to a lot of people. So what is there an overall theme that you keep running into time after time after time after time?
Oh, absolutely. It's always, oh, I can't do that, or I could never do that.
I could never do that.
I could never do that, or I could never say the things that you say, or I could never do that. And I always try to put them in a position of thinking, if it was the last thing that you had to do, could you do it? Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, baby, it's the last thing that you could do, because we're only as good as the last wedding that we had. Right. And let's say someone is upset with us, whether it's the client, it's another vendor, it's the venue, something goes on and we're just destroyed. Is that going to be our only source of income? I liken it to when Instagram goes down and everybody's like, oh my gosh, my advertising's done. Well, if that's the only way that you are reaching out to clients, you are absolutely right. If you are relying on one source of income and it's so tentative all of the time, yes, you absolutely are. So I try to get people out of that mindset of, oh, I can't do that, or I could never do that. If your life depended on it, could you? You know what I mean? If your kids' lives depended on it, if your pets' lives, if your parents, if your home depended on it, could you? I'm not saying that you got to like it and you got to do it all the time, but I always like to say too, if there is something that I know that people are asking for, I would be an idiot to not give it to them. You know what I mean? Like, if people keep coming to me and they're like, I want French fries, I want French fries, I want French fries. I'm like, sorry, my love, we don't do carbs here. Like, do you know how much money you are leaving on the I don't have to eat them. You know what I mean? I do not have to like them at all. So that's what I always try to get pros to realize is go through your data. I'm not going to use the word that I am. I will just try to redefine it as saying, I would do some very promiscuous and shady things for data. Okay. I love data. I feel like there is so many answers to your business in your data. So if you go through your data and go through your inquiries and you're looking at the things that people are asking you for, the things that people are thinking that they want to book, and you're like, oh, I don't do that, or I don't want to do that, you're passing up a market. Maybe you need to come up with a tiered brand. Maybe you need to come up with an associate that will handle these things so you don't have to specifically do them. But when you are being constantly inundated with requests and you pass them up. And then I see you a month later and you're like, oh, things are so slow. I don't know what happened. I don't have any money. Oh, I can tell you, I can show you specifically why you don't have any money right there in your data, right there.
Well, so like me, I'm awful about data. Like it was so funny. Recently somebody was like, what's your CRM? And I'm like, what? Like, I don't, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, wait, there's a whole like other system for that. I thought it was just me answering emails. Like, I mean, that's how backwards I have been in my life, that I was like, oh my God, there's like a whole other worlds in here. And it took me, and like right now, I am just in the process of trying to find a virtual assistant because I need that help. And I started realizing that a lot of my emails are just responding saying, I got your email, give me a little time in order to find you the right answer for that. Well, anybody can make that response. I need stuff to be organized in a way that makes sense for my lifestyle. Obviously the wedding that I've got coming up this weekend is my priority, and then everything else is shuffled below that. And so, and those are things that I think a virtual assistant can do for people. But what would be like a first step for somebody, let's say small business owner like me, that has never opened themselves up to the idea of firing themselves? What would be like a first kind of role for them to be able to expand to say, okay, I'm going to bring this person on? Because what I will add, that what I was a little surprised at is that there is a lid for every pot. And so there is a job out there, somebody willing to fill a job on the number of hours that you need them for the cost that you need them out there.
Keith, preach. Pass the collection plate. That is it right there. That is it. Is it like, you know what? How we would go out back in the day and we would see a very mismatched couple and we would be like, how in the world are they together? It's somebody out there for you like that too. You know what I mean? It is absolutely somebody out there like that for you. And when I say you, I'm speaking you in general, because I know some pros are like, oh, well, I'm very type A. Baby, no, you're not. You're really not. You disorganized. You think you in business. You're really a busy mess. No, you're not type A. You just have all of your shit everywhere. You're not type A. Let's be really for real about all of this. I say make a list of everything that you do for your largest collection, right? Because if we break everything down to some of the smaller and the custom things, that's already done. So I always say start with your largest collection and list out everything it is that you do. That's part of the problem right there, where pros aren't pricing themselves correctly because they don't really take account of everything that they do. Right. So just hold on, I'm gonna put the blinker on and turn over here really quick. If you want to do that, add a quick extension onto your browser like Clockify or something like that that tracks your hours. And as you're working, just keep tracking so that you know what you're spending every time, so that you know how to price yourself and how many hours you're doing. All right, detour over, we'll come back over here. So you'll make your list of everything it is that you do. Then highlight all of the things that you truly enjoy doing. And then highlight in a different color all of the things that only you can do, nobody else can do. In a different color, highlight all of the things that you cannot do or you are not good at. And then in a different color, highlight all of the things that anybody can do. And then there's your list of where you begin to delegate. You cannot work on the business if you are constantly working in the business. So you have to give some things away. And that is where you have to say, okay, you know what? I'm not really good at the graphic design. I'm not really great at social media. I'm giving it away. I don't have to do my timelines. If I send all of my notes and my video, audio, or my video notes or my audio notes to my virtual assistant, they can plug in everything for the timeline. I have to be the front face of my business. So yeah, I have to be out there networking. I have to be, at the head of the creative director of the shoots that I'm doing. Those are things that I have to do. And now I'm freed up both in time and creatively and mentally because I don't have all of those other things on my list. And like you said, begin to find the lid to your pot. it is not necessary for you to go out and spend thousands and thousands of dollars. If you say, you know what, I just have this amount and I just need it done in this amount of time, or I only have these amount of hours, start there. You can, there's power in letting go. Let me just say that. And I learned that so many years ago when I started really building my team. And I was always like, oh my God, somebody's going to copy me. They're going to take my things and run off and start a new business. Baby, don't nobody want to do this but me.
No,
Don't nobody. And then can't nobody do it the way I do it. But me. You know what I mean? Nobody wants your business. And I even posted today, you know, they can copy the recipe, but the sauce won't taste the same. So if they copy you, it's going to be a generic version. It's going to be the equate version of you, right? It is not going to be, it's not going to be you. And you have to walk in that confidence that my processes are great. My style is great. They want me for me, and I can provide that if I free myself up. So that would be my first thing, is to, you know, go through that list with those 4 colors of your highlighters and start to delegate some of those things out.
Well, one of the things that I actually ended up having to do for myself is because I've heard that obviously in different forms over the years, never as good as this, but I'm awful about getting that first step. You know how they say that every journey starts with like the first step? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to just sit here then. Okay. I
You're
really
like, no,
don't.
Thanks.
No,
thanks.
I'm going to say. So what I ended up doing is I actually ended up creating a book. And on the book, I literally put in bold letters, bitches, right? And I know it's just like, it sounds like people, but it's not people. It's actually scenarios. And so every time I would get mad about something, like I would have, you know, a conversation, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired of doing this. I would just quickly jot it down in there. And then after a bit, I started flipping through it, and I started realizing that there were certain things that were coming up over and over and over again. But I got away from the idea of, oh, I have to do this. This was more of a creative outlet for me to like write it down and let it go kind of moment. And then I was able to use that data.
Look at that.
And go right, and then go back and start looking at it, and that's because I know my brain. My brain is an all or nothing. I'm an all or nothing. Like if 2 is great, then I'll have 6. Right. So I have to know. It's true.
Are you a Leo? Are you a Leo, Keith?
I'm a Libra, as scary as that is.
You know what? I can see that.
I know. I'm actually close to Scorpio. I'm within that like 2-day variance. Anyway,
come on over to the dark side. We'd love to have you.
I'm definitely more on the dark side. But that's what I'm saying, is that I had to figure out what my way was. Is that I could listen to other people like you talk and go, oh my God, of course, But you got to figure out how you tick personally versus right. And so
I completely agree.
So when it comes to finding data sources for those people, because this all sounds like all well and good, but there are a lot of people out there that don't have a lot of extra coins to rub together, which is why I said there's a pot there's a lid for every pot, because I only needed like 5 or 6 hours a week, not even that actually at the beginning. And the only way I could figure it out is I had to ask. I had to like put it out there on social media that I'm looking for a virtual assistant, and anybody got any recommendations? And I only need them for like 5 or 6. Well, come to find out, a whole bunch of other people only needed them for 5 or 6 hours. So guess what? Somebody now has a full-time job because they've got 8 of us doing 5 hours a week.
Yep. I completely agree with you. I mean, I remember when I was starting to interview for virtual assistants, and some of the proposals that were coming in were like
20 hours, 40 hours.
Side eye. I'm like, baby, you better be coming here and doing this laundry and feeding these kids and filling up my gas tank. Like, beloved. No.
Oh my God.
No.
I got a part-timer for a virtual assistant that wanted $16,000 a year. And I'm like, no, that's not happening.
Baby, me too. Me too. For the amount of time, me too.
No.
Me too. As would I. You know what I mean? As would I. So there are so many really great resources that are out there. Of course, use your own network, because like you said, I love that, you know, there's so many people that are pooling together and they can really change the life of one individual who's only
Yeah.
going to get better the more that they work with all of you, right? They're going to get quicker. They understand the industry more. That is phenomenal. So one, use your own network. It is not a bad thing, which is why I absolutely love that you asked how to say my name at the beginning of this. It is not a bad thing to ask, right? A closed mouth does not get fed. If you do not open your mouth, you are consigning yourself to wherever you are. You are going to stay exactly where you are. So
you need
start
to
with
you
your
need to
own
admit.
network.
Yeah, you need to admit what you don't know. I mean, you have to. It's the only way you're going to learn.
And I promise you, you are not the only person who does not know. The
100%.
only people who know now is because they either asked or they found out and they want to help out. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a lot of people out there who are not gatekeeping at all.
That's
and
true.
I'm pretty sure that they're in your network. So ask. And as you begin to ask, there are several different other options too. You've got Fiverr, you've got Upwork, you have got outsourcing with love. You've got so many different things. You even have Instagram. Instagram is becoming more of a search engine than Google is. So just search virtual assistant and see what pops up, and then begin to look at their content, begin to, interact with them and start asking them questions, specifically those who work in creative industries and in the wedding industry as well. You'll definitely find the person that you need, and be upfront with what you want. Don't go in there thinking that you're going to be this huge, CEO and like, oh yes, I want to bring in somebody part-time, or I want to bring in somebody for full-time, and you'll have 40 hours a week. Baby, you ain't even got 40 hours a week. Let's just be really real and talk about it. Say, look, I just need you to answer these emails and that's it. Can you do it? Circle yes or no, pass the note back to me really quick before the teacher comes and she sees us passing notes. It does not have to be anything too heavy or too crazy. You have to advocate for yourself and your business, and it's totally okay for you to have a budget, or like I always say for our own clients, a financial comfort zone, and that you stay within that, so you know what it takes for you to not only not lose your sanity, but also not lose your profit either when you're hiring out.
Well, because sometimes you make that mistake because you don't know what you don't know. And you may be like, look, I only have $250 a week to give somebody. And then they're like, I'm good. You want maybe $250? Okay. The list you gave me is all of 20 minutes. Okay, great. You want to give me $250 for that? So you have to be really careful about like the money, and pennies count. Sure. Like somebody told me once that if you count the pennies, you don't have to worry about the dollars. And I have loved that piece of advice ever since, is like, if you pay attention to the pennies, you won't have to worry about the dollars. But I think that when it comes to us as entrepreneurs, we're so about the art. Like, I love broad strokes and visuals and what have you. I hate bookkeeping. I hate it. Oh my God. If you tell me to save another
with
receipt,
my life,
my
life, Keith, like zero desire. See, you know what? Zero. Just Wesley Snipes me. Just send me to prison. I can't.
It's awful, and I know that I'm not good at that, and that yet there are people out there that love it. Oh my God, they're like, numbers are everything. Oh, they do, and they're like, oh, you know what? Look here, just give me your account and use only this debit card, and it'll automatically track, and then I'll set the system up, and then I'll hand it back over to you. And that's exactly what happened. Like, somebody did my QuickBooks for me, set all the little things up, and now everything's automatic.
Thing in the world, Keith. Wasn't that
oh my God, it was fabulous
thing in the world?
Oh, I love going.
Like, you enjoy this? Like this is
right?
It.
I was like,
this is it.
But I think the biggest thing is people need to talk. They need to talk. They don't talk.
And admit that you don't have your shit together, please.
Yes.
Nobody does. Nobody does.
And I don't care how long somebody's been in business, but the last thing you want is to be that person that everybody hears, oh, did you hear they closed their doors? Because that just literally happened to a caterer, like a pretty well-known caterer in the area, who we all thought was like amazing, but they had great social media. Holy crap, they were amazing on their social media. So everybody, of course, thought they were busy. So busy that people stopped sending them business.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So be really careful about how much you send out there as I'm so successful, I'm so busy, because at some point, who else told us about this, Marcy? David Terrica.
Yes, he did.
Remember? He went, because as soon as his TV show started going out, he stopped getting business and he almost had to declare bankruptcy because people thought, first of all, that he was too busy, and second of all, that they couldn't afford him. And it was like, it almost ruined him. And I'm like, I've listened to that ever since. But you know, that was some of the things that I was getting from you when we were listening to you. So, you know, what should people do if they've got themselves into a rut? Like, what's a good way?
That's what my mom always used to say. You know, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Stop digging. I think that this is something that Teresa Sawyer from Event Therapy talks about often, is how do you know when you're approaching burnout?
Ooh.
And it's just, there is just like no more joy in it. You know what I mean? And then when there's no joy, you're not showing up as your best self. And you're taking on events that maybe you shouldn't have because you got passed over for this one, or you're not making enough. So you have to take on more events to make up that deficit. But you're finding yourself in this rut. You have to stop. You have to recognize it. So, okay, what am I unhappy about? Do I really not like doing these things? Do I really not working with these specific people? Really identify what it is that's causing the issue. Is it a lack of money? Is it a lack of time? Is it a lack of creativity? And figure out how we can infuse that off. A majority of it is going to be taking something off of your plate, to be quite honest with you, because the only way that you can release is to take something off of your plate. So figure out what that is. Whether you're like, you know what, I'm super scared, I can't get an automation. I'm sorry, I can't get a virtual assistant right now. All right, well then let's use automations. Let's try to incorporate some automations into your workflow, so that gets you a little bit more comfortable with you not feeling like you have to specifically do something at that particular time. And then you build up to the virtual assistant. Then you build up to maybe an in-person assistant. Then you build up to associates. Then you build up to teams and all of these other things. I think that when many of us come into this industry, we get very blinded by the glitz and the glamour. And we're like, oh, I'm going to have a huge storefront and I'm going to have an amazing team. And I'm like, baby, you don't even have 5 inquiries. How are we paying for the rent? How are we getting a team? So start small. And the only way that you can become this mogul is if you learn how to delegate, if you learn how to take things off of your plate and recognize where you shine and where somebody else shines.
You know what? I made a major mistake in my own business, and I do love talking about like my own mistakes on this show. I don't know why, but I do. Anyway, but I know it's therapeutic. But you know what? Yeah, but I made a huge mistake because I got to a point that I was so busy and I was so used to being on everybody's vendor list that I was no longer taking care of those relationships of the people that had put me on their vendor lists. Right. So I because I was doing events, I just assumed that, you know, I'm seeing them all the time. Of course, no, I needed to stop and send thank you notes. I needed to stop and call them up and to say, hey, you know what? I just want to really say I appreciate everything that you've done for me over the years. And luckily I learned that in a time frame that it didn't affect me too much. But there were a couple that I was really surprised at that I went, I've had long-term relationships with these people that I really was a little gobsmacked by the fact that I forgot the basics of dealing with other human beings. You got to thank them. You got to continue that relationship. Do you think people do that?
Oh, for sure. And I think that this is another space where things can be taken off of our plates. Now, in terms of your relationships with your vendors, I think that's something definitely you have to do. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Because that's a personal relationship. So maybe something can be taken off of your plate where you're not bogged down in the weeds so that you can focus on curating and cultivating those relationships. Right. But on the flip side too, we have these relationships with our clients. And one of the first virtual assistants that I brought on was a client concierge. And that was someone that was just going to check in with my clients every month, just to make sure that they were using the systems okay, that they were getting everything that they needed. It was far easier for clients to kind of like complain or to gush to a third party than it would be to me, because it wouldn't feel like that it was affecting them specifically. So I think that when we look at this overall, our entire business is built on relationships, the relationships with our creative partners and the relationships with our clients. And you make a very valid point. If you don't take care of either one of them, your business is done. And just like how you mentioned too about how, oh, well, you know, when you're looking for a virtual assistant, and it's like, oh, I want so many hours, or somebody will say no. I say that the sales game in this industry and even the networking game in this industry is like dating. What you won't do, somebody else will. You know what I
Right.
mean? So if you are not taking care of your clients, somebody else will. If you are not maintaining those relationships, somebody else is going to slide in with your creative partners and become the next you, right? And I think that it's so important too that we also understand that we have an obligation to maintain the experience that we've introduced to people. So you can't go into your vendor partners and, lavish all of this attention on them and promise all of these things. And then when it gets in good, like you said, we just forget about them. The same thing with our clients. We have to be able to maintain that, and bringing in more people and freeing up our time helps us do those things too. And that's why it's so important for us to think about different ways that we can make money within our businesses, because then we're not chasing after every lead and we're forgetting about these things. I think that opens us up to so many more opportunities for us to really flourish and even sit back and say, you know what, now that I think about it, now that I haven't done this specific job, I don't think I want to do that anymore. You know what I mean? So maybe I won't do it, or maybe I'll farm it out to somebody else, but we definitely need that space to breathe.
Well, and Jeff Kolodny actually just said he took something off his plate and that helped him focus in other aspects of his business. I actually want to, Jeff, if you're still
Bingo,
watching,
Jeff.
I actually
Hi,
want to
Jeff.
know. Hi, Jeff. I want to know what you took off your plate. So if you respond and let us know, because I'd like to find that out. But how important is keeping your past client relationships in touch? Because one of the things that we learned at Wedding Pro was that your best source of future business is past business, which I thought,
Absolutely.
like, duh, like, and I think that's something that you could absolutely, like, I mean, it was a dumb moment for me. Not demo, not like duh, but no, I was like,
Right.
oh crap, I haven't done a good job of that. And so that is something I could easily farm off to have somebody like go through my database of timelines and people and basically go, okay, reach out to them and just say hi. Here's a standardized, like, this is how I typically respond to people, and I just need you to reach out. Is that something that you feel is possible?
Absolutely, because it's always going to be a source of, one, again, maintaining that experience and maintaining that relationship. When we think about it, we've been involved in some of the most intimate moments of someone's life, the beginning of someone's life for them starting their families. So prayerfully, it's been good. And when they see us, they associate us with something good. But I think that it's very important too that we use that to curate future business as well. So these are great resources for testimonials and for reviews as well that can always be used over and over again. I say when you do your proposals, anywhere you put a $, you need to put a testimonial. And you need to have a testimonial that makes sense to the specific person that you're sending that proposal to. So there are going to be different pieces, like how you and I talked about earlier about, segmenting this podcast. There's going to be different pieces and segments of a review that's going to relate to maybe 5 different potential leads that you might have. You won't have that if you're not curating that relationship, if you are not really maintaining that relationship. So whether you're using, some of the big box, like, Wedding Wire, The Knot, Zola, Wedding Chicks, whatever, to curate your reviews, or you're just getting emails, you're getting cards, even if you want to use something like, I love Video Ask. Video Ask is great because your clients can actually leave a video testimonial. They can leave an audio testimonial, and just think about how you could put together a couple of pictures from their wedding and then overlay their audio of them talking about how great it was to you. And that's something that you send out to future leads, or that's something that you put into your podcast. That changes the game right there. The best indicator of future business is past business. And that's going to be how your future clients are going to judge their experience with you, is how other clients have felt. So I think that that's definitely something that we need to stay on top of and maintain.
That's so smart.
I love that.
I love that. Oh my God, I'm so smart.
I think one of the things that always captures me about, captivates me about you is that you're very authentic. I mean, you are who you say you are. My question to you is how is important to people who are listening? How important is it for them to understand everybody is different, that they need to be their authentic self and figure out what they need to do to increase their hustle, and knowing what they need to take off of their plate?
I got
because
you.
they're all going to be
Absolutely.
different.
We're
Yeah.
all going to be different because, like Keith said, somebody might really love numbers, but they might hate the creative part of it. Like baby, let me tell you something. It's by the grace of God that these flowers out here are growing. Okay. If I look at them, they will wilt. So I don't even try to touch a flower at my events, but I can design the hell out of them. And my designer now takes care of those. So it's really figuring what brings you joy. You remember Marie Kondo when she came out with that Netflix special and she pulled out something of your house and she's like, does this spark joy? And you'd be like, no. And she's like, toss it. Same thing with your list. Be authentic about what really makes you happy. There are some phenomenal planners, there's some phenomenal caterers, some phenomenal wedding pros in general that just love the logistics. They love the details. Some of them don't like to talk to people, and I can't blame you half the time because some people are crazy, but that's another podcast for another day. Some people, communications isn't their thing, so maybe they need to bring in a sales rep. Maybe they need to bring in a guest concierge. I think it's really important for you to show up as yourself. And the best way for you to show up as yourself is to get out there and become your biggest cheerleader and your biggest fan and make a list of the things that all of the things that you're great at, not the things that you're not great at or that you don't like to do, but all of the things that you are great at so that you know where you need to show up specifically for your business. And this is also going to help you realize the type of clients that resonate well with you as well. Part of my issues, and this things that I learned so many years into my business, that I don't like a lot of people, right? Like I'm nice. I like a lot of people. I just don't get along with a lot of, we don't mesh well when we work together.
Right.
And that's totally fine, right? Our styles are different. Our work styles are different, completely fine. When you realize what you're great at and who you can serve and who really wants that, that's going to help you serve your clients better. So I'm going to challenge you to go back through your data again and look at all of the clients that you enjoyed working with. What are some characteristics about them? What was their planning style? What was their event style? What was their budget? What was their communication style? So that you can begin to replicate whatever it is you did to bring them in and hire them and have them hire you over again so you can continuously get those clients. And then also look at the ones that you really struggled with or those that were challenging for you and identify, why was this challenging? Did we just not get along? Did we have opposing styles? Was it something that, just didn't mesh? Was I overextending myself? Because then that's also going to help you realize this is not for me. And I'm going to be able to recognize this red flag when I see it again, when it pops up into my inquiry, looking like Satan in a Sunday hat, promising the world. And you're like, oh, baby, you smell like drama and a headache. I am not available. Can't do it. Can't do it. No, I'm sorry. No.
Oh my God, that is so smart. I didn't even, and it's funny because I'm actually, while you were talking, I was like literally going through a Rolodex of the people that I've enjoyed working with, and meaning personally, everybody obviously feels like I enjoyed working with them. I mean, that's my job, is to make them feel like,
of course,
this is amazing. But it's interesting because price point was not a factor in the people that I enjoyed working with, which I find really fascinating, because
I find that fascinating too.
Right. Because I started going through and like, okay, and the people that I enjoyed working with, I tried to do more for. So I had to be really careful about that.
Yeah.
Because time is money. And just because I enjoy working with somebody doesn't mean that I should also be giving away everything.
I have nothing to add.
Oh, good.
That was it. That was Keith Willard, chapter 2, verse 3. I have nothing to add. That was it right there.
Oh my God. I love that. See, oh my God. Terrica, you have been amazing, girl. I mean, this has been,
you.
I love this. And I love the fact that, we are talking about things that I feel should be moments that we're not doing a good job of doing for ourselves. It's like, that whole self-care piece where they say you got to take care of yourself before you take care of other people. I feel like this is like that whole conversation again about, self-care. You got to take care of yourself and make sure you're solid before you're going to be able to do a good job for everybody else.
Because your number one commitment is you, really. I mean, like, you're it first, then you take care of everybody around you.
Bingo. I was just telling a story about how Many years ago, I got viral meningitis, and
Oh shit.
I had no idea what was happening to me. I drove myself to the ER, and the doctor was like, "How did you even drive here?
I
Like,
was
do
just
you
going to ask
understand
you
what's
that.
going?" Oh, bionic Terrica, right? So they give me the spinal tap, and they're like, "Okay, well, this is what's going on. The membranes on your brain are severely inflamed. So you have to take it easy. You're on bed rest for the next 6 weeks." And I'm like, "Sir, I have a wedding." Like, you're about to have a funeral if you don't sit down. And that's the thing, right? Like, our clients, as much as they love us and as much as they appreciate us, should something happen, God forbid, they'll find something else. They'll find someone else to fill that role.
Yep.
Your family can't. Your spouse can't. Your best friends can't fill that role of you. So you have to take care of you. You have to make sure that you are the number one priority. So I always say, when you feel like you need to rest, you need to rest. Don't push it, right? Even as I say, get out there and hustle and make stuff happen. I'm in the gym 5 days a week. I love to work out because that's how I stay out of prison. However, I take 2 days off, right? Because my muscles aren't built every day that I'm in the gym. They're built on my days of rest. Your business, your creativity is going to be built also. It's going to be curated. It's going to be grown on your days of rest. So you have to take those days in order for you to show up better for yourself.
I'm just saying, if muscles are built on the days that you're resting, I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger, baby. I'm the Rock. You know, I got lots of rest happening over here. I'm like, oh wow, really? Okay, I
I kind of think of it as,
look at me.
I kind of think of it as the whole airplane effect, where, like, the oxygen comes down, you have to put it on yourself first, and then you take care of everybody around you.
Ooh, that was a good way of putting it.
Marcy,
Ooh.
when I do my self-talk, my self-care talk, I walk up on the stage and I always ask for a big bowl of water up there on the stage, and I put a sponge in there, and then I just go about the talk, and everybody's looking at me like, what is she up there doing? And then right before I walk off, I was like, oh, y'all were probably wondering what this is, right? So I pull the sponge out, and because the sponge has been soaking for the past 30 to 40 minutes, it is just filled up and sodden with water. And I say, okay, this is you, right? It is just leaking water. It is not going to clean effectively. That is exactly how we are. We are filled up with so many responsibilities, so many burdens, so many different messages from social media, from competition, from bills, so many things. We're filled up. We can't do anything else. So we have to squeeze our sponge. You have to squeeze your sponge, or you are going to be so ineffective in every area of your life. The main purpose that you are here for, you're not going to be great at. Sure, you could clean with this soggy sponge, but you're going to make a mess. You're not going to be effective. So whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's, I'm just going to binge out on a TV show, I'm going to go for a walk, whatever that self-care is for you, please do it. Please do it. And part of that is finding ways to take something off of your plate, whether it's hiring a virtual assistant, whether it's supplementing or replacing a source of income with something else. Please take something off of your plate, because you are absolutely irreplaceable.
That is a good place to wrap that up. Oh my God, that was brilliant. So if people wanted to reach out to you, because obviously part of this is video, part of this is audio. How do people get a hold of you, find you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, they can send all of their letters to the penitentiary. Everything is, it's going to be gone through by the warden, but I promise I'll eventually get them. No, you can find me on Instagram at Introducing Terrica, also on Facebook at Introducing Terrica as well.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Terrica, you've been brilliant, fabulous, and thank you for being on the show. I can't say thank you enough. And then for all of everybody else, we are going to be taking our summer break, but we will be back in August, I promise. And we have a really fabulous fall lineup that is starting to coalesce. Won't be as good as this, obviously, today, but tune in. I promise you're gonna end a good time. So Terrica, thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Terrica.
All right, guys. For now, we're gonna say goodbye. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.